Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
Como están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Sleeveless Mike. The guy to my right, Thick Evo, and we are excited to be back. We had a little week off last week. We are back, and we have got a bunch of shit to go over. I'm very excited. We've been doing youth baseball. There's quite a few stories out in the news, especially since we missed a couple weeks. But man, I'm pumped to be here. About to crack my first alcoholic beverage of the day. Got up, did the whole family thing this morning. We're going to take the kids to the pool this afternoon. So I'm definitely going to need to get a few beverages in me before I have to go and deal with the people at the pool, where I'm apparently not supposed to bring alcohol. We're going to test that theory this afternoon as well. Evo, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm tired, but it's been a nice little break for us from the pod, at least for me. A little hiatus. Had a birthday last weekend. Girl's birthday this weekend, so got a golf tournament, VFW golf tournament coming up tomorrow.
Very nice.
Sunday morning. So
a little
nice
Sunday morning
break.
golf tourney, huh?
Yeah, and I think I'll be taking a total of 3 or 4 days off of work in between, last week and going back on Tuesday. So it's pretty nice, man.
That is awesome. I have not got to play golf yet. I fucking need to get out there. I got to find some people that want to go play golf. One of the buddies that I have out here, Byron Martin, they're going to go. I think they were trying to play golf, but he works Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it kind of fucks me because I cannot go play golf with him. He's working when I want to go play golf. I can't play during the week unless I take time off. And if I take time off, I don't get fucking paid for it right now. So that's not happening. We got to make that paper until, something else happens. But I mean, things are good. Producer Amber has started her job at the bank. She likes it so far, which is very exciting. But yeah, man, everything's good here. I miss you guys out there in Arizona, especially our boy. $20 is $20. Dave, love you. Keep killing the Twitch game with the streaming. Got to hop on that. I think he's gonna get ready to stream here in a little bit, right?
Yeah, he usually streams here in a little bit, but he did start streaming pretty late last night. And Right now, as he likes to say, the wife and kids have left him.
Yeah. His wife and kids have left him.
His family takes a small summer hiatus every year, goes and sees her family while he sits back, continues to work and everything. So whenever that happens, he likes to get a little bit loose and have some drinks and things like that. So he started streaming a little bit later last night. Who knows how late he streamed. So I don't know, maybe he's having himself a long morning or something like that, still in bed.
I understand it. And I mean, I don't blame him. As much as you can sleep in, do it. My kids refuse to let me sleep in. But since we're kind of talking about a little bit of promotion, pumping up $20 is $20. Let's do a little bit of self-promotion ourselves. Guys, right now we have a giveaway going on. If you want to enter into that giveaway, you got to go onto the YouTube page and take a screenshot from any one of our shows. Then you can go on Twitter at Lineman Lounge or to the Facebook group. Make sure you post that screenshot from the YouTube and toss in the hashtag Lounge Birdies. Okay, that will get you entered to win a set of 2 spots to go play some Top Golf at First Energy Stadium with me and producer Amber. That is still going on. That contest will continue until the 9th of what month did I get married? July. 9th of July.
That sounds correct.
Yep. So that will go on until the 9th of July. Then we'll draw the winners on that day. And we'll let everybody know because that'll be taking place July 30th. That's the day I got married. I remember. So I'm sure she's watching this like, you son of a bitch. Cannot believe.
I mean, we got to play up to the normal male stereotypes and not remembering these dates, right?
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, it's a,
But go
it's a
ahead, man.
character piece.
All right. Well, so we had our intros. Pumped up the giveaway. Pumped up $20 is $20. Let's kind of dive in where we normally start. We're going to talk about some youth sports. Had 2 baseball games this weekend. Yeah, we had 2. We were supposed to have 3. One got rained out. We had 2. The boys got 2 dubs. Very big, very important. That kind of gets us back to 500 ball. They're playing well. Last night was fantastic. So the kids are getting way better. We've seen quite a bit of improvement. Last night they were very, very shorthanded. A team that normally has 12 kids on it only had 8. Summer just started here. School let out. Was it yesterday? So people are going into taking vacations and breaks. So we had 8 kids. Fielded a team of 8. Had 2 outfielders. That's the minimum that you can start a game with is 8. And we just kind of kept that going. And the boys found a way to make it happen. They were able to get a dub with only 8 fielders. It was very impressive. Graydon pitched pretty well. I mean, we had another kid step up and start pitching who has never pitched before, at least not for this team, and was absolutely lights out. So it was fantastic. Good job to the coaches. I actually got to get out there and do a little bit of coaching myself since they were shorthanded. So that was fun. It was exciting, and I'm very happy for those kids to, go out there and get a win when you're shorthanded. That shows a lot of heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine having to play with 8 players. I mean, I can absolutely imagine and I understand the logistics of it and everything and how it could really fucking suck. But
Yeah.
yeah, I hadn't ever. I just would have assumed that something different would have been done.
So something was supposed to be done. The coach had made a request to have a couple of pool players. So they typically there'll be a group of kids that say, "Hey, if anybody needs somebody, you can pull me and I'll play." Well, no pool players showed up, so they went with 8 and got a dub.
Did they make the other team match?
They did not. So, and then it's weird in this league. One of the rule changes from Arizona is these kids are still they're playing with 10 fielders. They have a left field, left center, and right field. So that's one of those big things that we had to kind of get used to, and Graydon didn't understand when he got here. So we're down 2 people in the outfield when you'd only be down 1.
Yeah,
We're down 2, and we still made it work. So
that's got to be pretty embarrassing for the other team, though, right?
So the other team, they hit pretty well, but they did struggle a little bit getting the ball over the plate. A lot of walks last night. Graydon still can't figure out his timing. I mean, he's accustomed to a little quicker pitches. I mean, the kid was swinging like 6 feet out in front. I mean, it's getting lobbed in there, EFA style. But their kids were having a tough time getting it over the plate. So that is one of the big factors in why they got the win. But it also means kids on that Gerber team, that's Graydon's team, are starting to have a lot better plate discipline. They're not going and they're not chasing pitches over their head. They're not chasing pitches in the dirt. So I mean, that's good to see. That's one of those things you want to see improvement on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congrats on that win. I mean, that's pretty notable. That's something that you can realistically continue to call back to probably as the year goes along. Hey, remember we were down 2 players on the field and we were still able to win. If you have enough heart and all that stuff, that normally can stick in a kid's head.
And it absolutely should. I mean, those kids have battled a long ways from where they were. So that's something that definitely should be called back on for, that spectacular performance. But all right. So we can get off the youth sports stuff and we'll kind of transition. Since we were just talking about baseball, we'll kind of start the day off with some baseball. This topic's not going to take too long. Just kind of wanted to give an update on some of the things going on in Major League Baseball. Right now, there are some teams that are really kind of surprising. Not that they weren't supposed to be good, but how well they are performing. That New York Yankees team is out fucking outrageous at 37-15. They are playing really good ball. Your Minnesota Twins in first place right now. I think that's a surprise for, I mean, most of Major League Baseball. I don't think too many people were expecting the Twins to be competing at that level, especially the way they struggled last year. Obviously, some pieces have changed.
Especially after the way they struggled this like past like week or so. I mean, they've been playing the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals, the bottom two teams here in the AL Central, and they were like 8-7, something like that in that series. It is fucking pretty bad. And that might just say something a little bit more about the AL Central.
Yeah, the AL Central's not great right now, which is great for me as a Guardians fan because we still struggle to put up runs at a consistent basis, and our pitching really has not been there as well as a Cleveland fan would come to expect after we've been so dominant for so long with our pitching staff. But I mean, we're in fucking second place. We are not out of this by any means. We're 4.5 games back from you guys, and it's very, very early in the season still. Now, baseball, you cannot make the playoffs in the first month, but you can fucking play yourself out of the playoffs in the first month, month and a half, 2 months. Like if you get down 15 games at this point in the season, I mean, you're basically done. And we got some teams that are like that. We got the Oakland A's. They're 15 games out from the Astros. They completely shredded that team in the offseason. The Nationals, also terrible, 16 games back. The Reds, who have the worst record in baseball, are only 13 and a half games back, but they're done. They're not going to compete. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things going on around baseball right now. I think a surprise team for everybody is going to be the Mets. Mets have been fantastic. New York is playing fucking baseball, which is great because they can't play any goddamn football in that city. Even though they're not technically from New York, neither one of those damn teams are. But yeah, it's been kind of exciting, interesting. But one of the things I really want to talk about, a team that kind of everybody expected to perform pretty well in that Mets division, the Philadelphia Phillies, right? I mean, we got our boy Goose. He's a Philly guy. I'm not sure he's much of a baseball guy, but I'm sure when the Phillies are doing well, he's kind of rooting for those guys. Well, they have released their manager, Joe Girardi. He is no longer with the team. And kind of as you go and you take a look at what's going on right now, they're 23-29. Okay, so they're 6 games under 500. It's not terrible. Okay, you can play back from that, but one of the big things that really kind of sticks out is how much they had in payroll and kind of some of their numbers, like putting up their chances to make the playoffs. So this team was third in payroll at 233 million or something like that. So they're shelling out just a shitload of money for almost no wins, and their chance of making the playoff percentage has dropped like 14% in the last week. They have 1.5% chance to make the playoffs at this point. So, I mean, the Phillies felt like it was time to make a change. With a payroll that high, you got to expect that you have a team that's supposed to compete. So is it that players are not performing up to their standard, or is the manager not putting these guys in the best situations to win? Now, I want to get your take. When we see these, mid-season firings, so we see them in the NFL, we see them in the NBA, and typically we'll get a little bit of a boost. Okay, when we see that boost? To me, that means there was something wrong with the manager. When we don't see that boost, it means that there is a problem with the way the team is constructed. Are you on that same kind of platform, or do you think that it's kind of really irrelevant when we're making that mid-season change?
Well, I mean, I think it's different for each sport. I guess I'm not used to tracking so much coach firings middle of the season for baseball. Now, we have seen coaches get let go pretty early in the NFL, but typically that's something that's happening more mid-season and later. And right now, the Phillies are 52 games in. Not even a third of the way through their year yet. So, is this really usual to have a manager be able to be let go this early?
So typically in baseball, when this happens, it happens fairly early in the year. Once you reach the halfway point, you're not really going to see it. This is one of those types of things in baseball where it's like, okay, this is not kind of working. Let's see if we can, juice up the club and change something around, get them going. But in baseball, we also see teams get on fucking hot streaks later in the year because there is so much time and they can battle back.
Yeah.
Was the Nationals. I think when the Nationals won the World Series, they started out the season fucking terrible. People thought they were done. They were going to start selling off the team. And I mean, that didn't happen. They came back. They ended up winning a World Series. And this is the year after Bryce Harper had left. So, I mean, these Nationals fans were already kind of down. They lose, in their opinion, probably their best player. They start out terrible. They stuck kind of with things, battle back, and they win a fucking World Series. So in baseball, it will be very early on in the season. You'll get an interim in there, see how they do, or your bench coach will take over because they're not going to bring. It's always going to somebody from the inside, your bench coach, your first base coach, one of those guys that kind of take over.
Yeah, you're having that familiarity take over.
Right.
That's so. I mean, like you were saying, the Phillies are paying a lot of money for production out there. They are playing in the NL East, so it's not an easy, division there to be super, super successful in. But when you fork out that sort of money, you're expecting results. You'd have figured that Joe Girardi would have been good for the job and that it wouldn't necessarily be a coaching thing. I mean, he did pretty good with the Yankees, albeit the Yankees haven't been spectacular.
I mean,
in recent
the man
history.
has a World Series win.
Yeah.
So,
but we see it all the time that, coaches can sometimes stick with old habits and things like that as the game slowly evolves. Maybe that's the case that's going on here. Either way, being third there in the NL East isn't going to cut it for the Phillies. They're 11 games. Is it 11 games back? Yeah, 11 games back. And then, Braves are 8.5 in front of them with the Mets leading at 35-19. They have to do something now. You're not, like I said, not even a third of the way through the season. So doing something now makes sense from just stepping back and not even really knowing when you would want to fire or bring in a new coach on a baseball team, because you have such a long season and the capability of making one of those more historic runs, especially when you've already got the talent pool on that team that they're paying for. It makes sense why they would want to do something now. You got to shake something up. You got to do something different than what you're already doing and expecting a different result. So, as far as baseball, I can see how it makes sense doing it here. Football is different because you're working with a much more condensed season, and it's not like
it would be very rare to see one of these in the NFL that happens. That would be week 4.
Yeah,
and that's the point.
Week 4 is where you can see some of these coaches in the NFL, like your head coach of the Carolina Panthers or something like that, who's already on the hot seat and already we could have expected to have been gone this year, or in this offseason, and somehow they stuck around. Like if Matt Rule has a bad first 4 games, he could easily be out by week 4. It's kind of your throwing out the white flag and saying, hey, we're probably tanking, but it's because we want to start we want to start a new regime right now, and let everyone on this team know your job's on the line. Play better, or we're going to be looking
every day. Your job is on the line. If you don't perform, I mean, and that's what professional sports is, right? Yeah. It's a production business. Doesn't matter if you're a nice guy. Doesn't matter if you're a good guy. Doesn't fucking matter if you're a bad guy. Like, if you produce, you're going to play. You're going to have your chance because production wins games. Winning games makes money. And this is a fucking money business. That's just the way it is.
Seems like you have some feelings about that being in Cleveland.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that after a little bit. But You got anything else on baseball, man? I just want to kind of highlight some stuff, talk about Girardi.
What do you feel about my Twins announcer Jim Cat throwing out the whole Nestor Molester Cortez comment on there?
So I did not catch the comment. I have not heard it. Now I've seen a little story about it. I don't have a ton of context. Um, what I can say is that if you are behind a microphone, you should be prepared for people to hear anything that is coming out of your mouth at all times. Like when we go and we start the show and it goes to our little countdown and our intro song, I don't fucking say anything because it says that my mic is muted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for sure that something's not going to happen and my mic is going to unmute and something's going to come out of my mouth that maybe people aren't going to like. Like, and these are pros, right? I'm not a professional. I'm trying to be a professional as much as I can. But I don't understand how this keeps happening. Like it happened here in Cleveland at one point to Tony Grossi. He was caught on a hot mic saying that Baker Mayfield's a fucking midget. Exact words. Like how, and he's like the big time writer here in Cleveland. He is the show. I don't understand it.
So Jim Cat is an 83-year-old. He's a Hall of Fame pitcher in his day. And this isn't the first time that he says something on air that's been offensive. And part of it, I'm sure, ends up coming down to words having different meanings through different generations and things like that. But at the end of the day, like you said, once you're behind a mic, you're a professional. You have to know what's right and wrong. You can't say one of those things that's wrong. You have to change your verbiage as the times change. So that's not really an excuse, nor is the word molester having any sort of a definition change in the past, like 2 centuries
Years,
at least. Yeah. So I get how he could possibly, or if this was actually some sort of a nickname for him at one point in time. It'd be funny now if Nestor Cortez actually had been charged with like molestation. This is Jim Cat's way of like
really bad
giving him a fuck you. It's still unprofessional, but it'd be funnier. And apparently Jim Cat's apologized to Nestor. That's coming from Nestor. And he said
doesn't Nestor have doesn't Nestor have the disgusting mustache? Like I'm pretty sure that he's just got this very like prototypical, like that's what you would imagine.
I don't think he does. We had like Bert Blyleven back in the day calling games for us, and I believe that he said a racial slur or something like that, and he would sport it. He would sport a mustache sometimes, if not a goatee. I'm looking at pictures here of Jim Cat, and for the most part, especially in his professional career, it looks like he's clean shaven.
Hold on, I've got a picture. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for the man.
If you're talking about Nestor Cortez, he does have the mustache. He does have the mustache.
So if you guys don't know,
but it's not a molester mustache.
This is Nestor Cortez. Did it go? Yeah, there it is. There's Nestor Cortez. He's got the mustache. Now that's still no reason to be throwing that out there. But like. At least he didn't follow it up with, and there's a drive by Castellanos to deep left, and that's going to be a 3-run home run. Like, I mean, there are worse ways for broadcasts to continue, especially if you get hot mic'd.
I believe one of the
racial slur.
One of the things that he had said before, which I believe you have to connect a few more dots for the thing that he said before that he got in trouble. He was describing one of the players playing and said, "Man, I wish I could have a 40-acre field full of him," or something like that. And I'm pretty sure it was a player of color.
Wow.
But he was like trying to give a measurement of like how many times he would want that good of a player on the field type thing.
Yeah.
But obviously it can be related.
There's some connotations there that don't go over.
Yeah. It's not a good look. Shouldn't be doing that. And I'm going to be brutally honest. Watching baseball games on TV can get real boring, real slow. The commentators have to fill a lot of airtime where they're talking about the same like 18 dudes or so, like
Yeah.
they're probably trying on the fly to come up with a little bit of fucking gold, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah. Hey, listen, baseball's a game where you're going to fail 70% of the time and be fantastic.
Yeah.
The broadcasting, sometimes they're missing at least that much.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring it up because it is my twins technically. That's this is revolving around. So shame on you, Jim Cat. You're 83 years old. You should probably know better, especially being a professional. But hopefully we can move on. It seems like Nestor Cortez is viewing it as a non-issue.
Whatever, yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna go pitch.
Yeah. And Nestor's been fantastic this year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. So we are doing well in our fantasy baseball. I mean, not very well, moderately well for two fucking yahoos who have absolutely no idea how to play.
And one
baseball.
who's really not participating.
Yeah, that's okay. But
I get email notifications that your trade request or your waiver request went through. I'm like, oh, cool.
So right now we are scheduled to beat Manfred is a bitch. I will repeat the name. Manfred is a bitch by quite a bit, and he's one of the better players in the league right now. I want to say, just kidding, he sucks. He's 12th. We're better than him already. Whoops. It's okay. I'll take. Hey, dub's a dub. We actually already got some money back. I'm gonna have to send you Venmo. We got $40 back from our $150 buy-in.
We can worry about that at the end of the year.
All right, yeah, that's what I figured. Just keep it all in the account, and then we'll split whatever we end up getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hey, our pitching, I'm fucking piecing it together basically day by day. I am streaming pitchers like who's pitching today. Fuck it, pick that guy up.
Yep, absolutely.
Trying to get some points, but all right, let's get off of that. Let's make a transition over into. We'll go quick with some of the other stuff. So the NBA finals are going on right now. Celtics and Warriors. Warriors looked like they had game one in the bag, and then the fucking Celtics storm back and take a pretty, convincing win there at the end. I think it was 107, 101. I'm sorry, 120, 108. I was a little off on the numbers there. And Boston was way down. Golden State had a little bit of a collapse in that game. I thought Golden State was going to run away with this series. I think they're the better team. But, I mean, the Celtics can play. Jason Tatum is a stud. He is proving right now that he is a superstar. That's where superstars are made in the NBA. It's in the playoffs, especially in the finals. If Jason Tatum can win a finals MVP, lead this team to, a title, people are going to be talking about Jason Tatum in conversations for MVPs going on in the future. Like that is kind of how you vault yourself onto the stage in the NBA. Nobody gives a shit about regular season basketball. It's so fucking tough to watch. I love basketball. I like watching basketball games. But regular season basketball to me has less meaning than regular season baseball. Like, give me a regular season baseball game over a regular season basketball game any day. But when you get to the finals, that's when basketball is exciting again. That and then March Madness, where I could watch, college basketball players all fucking weekend, especially if I have some money on those games. But I think this is going to end up being a pretty decent series. I still think the Warriors will win. I'm probably in the Warriors in 7 though at this point because Celtics are not going to back down from these guys.
Yeah. And to be honest, we had talked about kind of what we wanted to see for the finals. It's not the teams that I personally wanted to see in the finals.
Me either.
And I don't know. I'm kind of bored with these teams, honestly. The storylines aren't really grabbing me as much.
Yeah, I think the storyline right now is Jason Tatum as being vaulted up real high.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he's someone that's kind of, obviously, really
he's been
diehard basketball fans are going to recognize it, but we haven't seen him play to this level. And so that's really more of the focus right now. You got Steph Curry and now Tatum. There's the two big names here in these finals. So, with Tatum being the more of a surprise name, that's really what we're watching here.
Yeah, I was expecting Steph to just fucking go off and kind of dominate this series, but it's going to be a pretty good series from what it looks like. So I'm excited for that. All
Yep.
right. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we've also are starting to see some moves kind of happen, front offices and things like that around the
Oh
league.
yeah.
And the team that everyone likes to talk about because they've got LeBron on it, the Lakers, they have a new head coach now.
They do.
They picked up Milwaukee assistant Darvin Ham, saying that he's no nonsense, hardworking approach and stuff like that. All the normal things that you're going to hear PR wise. You think that he's going to make that coach in particular is going to make any big difference with that team going forward?
No, because the Lakers have come out and said that they are not getting rid of Russell Westbrook. So that's 40, and he's going to exercise his team option. That's $43 million against their cap. They are in cap hell. They don't have any. I don't think they have any trade exemptions. So that team is exactly what they are going to be. They don't work together. Westbrook is still a great athlete, but he's never been a great shooter. He's been a better shooter than he is right now. Anthony Davis is continuing to get hurt, even though he's one of the top 5 players in the world. He cannot stay healthy. And LeBron is aging. LeBron is no longer the best player in the NBA. Until probably this year, I would have said LeBron is the best player in the NBA. Right now, I'm pretty sure that's Giannis. The only other person that I would even consider in that realm would be KD, just because of the things that he can do that other people can't. LeBron he's not that guy anymore. He's still an all-star. He's still going to get you 25 and 5, like no doubt every night. But LeBron's not going to be able to take over a game and carry a team to a playoffs or a championship run like he has done in the past. So, I mean, I'm not sure this is really consequential to that team at all.
Yeah, that's I figured that's what you were going to say. I thought maybe you'd surprise me with something that I wasn't tracking, but yeah it's a move to make a move.
Yeah, I mean they have to hire
and
somebody.
Not the right move, to be honest. Like you said, Westbrook staying there. The issue was less on the coaching, more on personnel on the team.
Yeah, it's how that team meshes, and it doesn't at all. Like it blows my mind if they thought that combination was gonna work at all.
I mean, someone thought it would.
Yeah, well, somebody's probably got fired. So,
yeah.
or he's an aging, really good basketball player who's slightly balding. Yeah, it was probably LeBron. It was probably GM LeBron that pulled that off.
Very possible.
Yeah. All right, I'm done with the NBA. You got anything else for it?
That's it, man.
All right, we're gonna dive over into the NHL. Stanley Cup playoffs are still going on. New York Rangers right now, 2-game lead on the defending Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. I did not expect that. I thought Tampa Bay was going to come in and kind of have their way with this series. I mean, they've won back-to-back Stanley Cups for a reason. But Rangers took care of their business at home, getting 2 wins. Tampa Bay, I don't think this is going to get too far away. I think that, they'll make it a series, but I really think that the Rangers can win this. And I love an idea of a Rangers and Avalanche matchup. The Avs are up 2-0 as well in their series. And I think the Avs are easily the best team left in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, the way that they've been dominating down the entire stretch. So the Avs really do seem unstoppable at this point. It's the Avs and everyone else. So that little bit of excitement that we're working towards to the Stanley Cup Finals is who's going to play the Avs.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I mean, the Rangers are actually making it pretty interesting there because they're having they are 2 up in the series with the Lightning, but the Lightning, it's been
the Lightning are so closer. Fucking good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Rangers
game one wasn't close,
but 3-2 in the second. Compared to if you're looking over at these Avalanche scores, I mean, 8-6, that is not a hockey score, but that was their first game.
Yeah.
And then, 4-0, that's more of what we're expecting to see when the Avalanche are playing the Oilers here. And I'm sure the Oilers can get a game.
Yeah.
In the series
one
at some point.
1 or 2 max. probably one.
Yeah. But and Connor McDavid for those Oilers is just insane. He's had some
Oh,
pretty
fantastic.
outstanding plays there on the ice over these playoffs. But
Connor might be the best player in hockey right now.
yeah. I mean, I'm talking him. I have to shout out my boy Kirill Kaprizov because
Yep.
he does some of the same stuff, but he ain't in the playoffs anymore.
Nope.
McDavid's doing some pretty awesome stuff out there, so it's cool to see that. But unfortunately for his Oilers, I don't think they're making it past the Avalanche here, not at this point. And then I think that we are still going to see some pretty interesting stuff here from this Rangers Lightning matchup. But at the end of the day, I am kind of leaning towards just with them having a 2-0 lead right now, the Rangers and the Avalanche are probably going to be what we're seeing as our Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, that's the way it looks to me, and I'm pumped. I hope the Avs, can finish this off. I don't have too many doubts about them finishing off the conference finals, and right now they're my pick, which is fantastic as an Avs fan, for them to go on and win the Stanley Cup. So that's going to be exciting as shit.
Absolutely. And Kayla Hubbard's out here, big Colorado every
Oh
sport
yeah,
fan, even though she doesn't follow them until they get into the playoffs. And
right.
but
Well, we have a
she's
lot of
paying
people
attention.
who are passive fans of a lot of sports.
Mhm.
Like for me, I am a passive basketball fan. I'm a passive hockey fan. I am a huge football and a baseball guy. Like those are the two things that I will watch religiously. But if I got, a cool matchup for the NBA or we're talking about Stanley Cup playoffs, I'm going to turn that shit on because it's exciting. Regular season hockey, regular season NBA, that's not gonna pump me up. Whereas I could turn on fucking the 83rd game of the baseball season in the regular season and be like, fuck yeah, let's go. This is an awesome baseball game. And
Mhm.
then all 18 weeks of the NFL are amazing. I'm tuned in 18 weeks out of 18. And then the playoffs start where it gets even better. So
Yep.
it also helps that I play fantasy football and I uh, degenerately gamble on sports. Something that I'm actually going to get to do, but not until much later in the year this year. Ohio has announced that sports gambling is going to be legal January 1st of 2023, which means I'm still going to give you guys bets when football season comes around. But I'm not going to be able to play some of them myself unless I can get Evo to be my bookie during the regular season.
We can probably figure something out.
All right, we should probably figure something out. Because dude, it's tough. Like the only thing that we are allowed to gamble on here, like sports wise, is the ponies. So I put in a bet on the Preakness a few weeks ago. Missed it by one fucking horse. You had a box superfecta. The horse that we needed, one of the horses that we needed to finish in the top four, finished fifth. It was tough. It was tough. I mean, I don't know dick about horse racing. Mama Carlisle actually is the one that kind of put that whole uh, superfecta together, but
Mm-hmm.
that's all we got until January 1st. There's no even in-person sports books. So, because I was going to fucking drive my ass into Cleveland, go to the Jack Casino, and like, all right, I got to scratch the itch.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Hey, but January 2023, I mean, you'll still get Super Bowl playoffs, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get. I think is that week. No, is that? It's not week 18. Week 18 is before Christmas. I don't fucking remember. I
Uh,
have to look at the schedule.
no, Christmas
It's gonna be
is
close.
17, 18.
Yeah,
So
somewhere right
you'll be
around
getting into
there.
that first week of the playoffs or so that you'll be able to start making some bets.
That's okay. I'm gonna hopefully have enough cash pulled together that I can make up for 18 weeks of missed football bets in the
Right.
playoffs.
Unless you work through your bookie from afar.
Unless I work through my bookie from afar, and
Absolutely.
that's fine. You just can't take a vig, otherwise it becomes illegal. Then
Sure.
yeah.
But I guess we can kind of move on to maybe
Yeah,
some golf stuff here.
yeah.
So you're bringing up, and we got the memorial taking place there in Ohio
And
right now.
in Dublin, Ohio. It's a really cool tournament. So this is not like it's not a big time tournament. Like people are not like, but everybody wants to play in the Memorial. This is Jack's course. Like, designed it, kind of helps still run the thing. A lot of fun. Apparently, it turns into just a massive fucking booze fest down there in Dublin. People will rent out their houses for a week and make 10 grand because you got all these rich people coming in, going and checking out the Memorial Tournament, having fucking house parties, having a good ass time. And I mean, shit, if I lived in Dublin, I'd be renting my fucking house out. Uh, the the money alone pays for a week's worth of hotel and quite a bit of other shit.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm gonna have to probably make my way down there the next time the Memorial comes around to kind of take in the atmosphere. But it is a super fun tournament. Who was in the lead last
Cam
time I was
Smith.
looking? Okay, so
Cam
that
Smith
has
from
not
Australia.
changed.
Great hair, great mustache. But yeah, Cam Smith is in the lead right now, 8 under. Then you've got 3 guys that are 7 under, and Billy Horschel, Cameron Young, and Denny McCarthy. It's one thing about golf is that each weekend there's pretty much a major, or not a major, but some sort of a golf match going on. PGA
There's
golf
always a
match.
tournament.
But it's not always going to feature the biggest names.
Right.
The Memorial still is having, a lot of bigger names like Cam Smith, like a Horschel in there, like John Rahm, Max Homa, some of those bigger names, but not every single big guy. You're not having Tiger come out and play this. He's coming out for the big events.
So so Tiger has played this a few times. He likes playing Jack's course, but him and Jack are also very good friends.
Yep.
But we're not typically seeing we're not seeing the top players in the world. We have some names. We have a Rory. We have a Jordan Spieth, guys that were supposed to be the next great ones. But I think no matter what, this is a fun tournament. It's got one of those fucking party atmospheres,
and you look at it, it's 18 holes on a golf course. You're able to go out, have a couple drinks, and you're able to get relatively close to these guys. You're able to either set up by a tee box somewhere. You're able to set up around 300 yards down the fairway somewhere where these guys are going to be hitting, and you have a relatively high chance of being, within a couple yards of a phenomenal player, which is pretty cool, and getting to see them, do their craft, which, for a lot of other sports you don't get to do. I mean, basketball, you shell out a lot of money, you might get down right there next to the court, but other than that, you're not always up and close and personal with these guys. So it's pretty cool to see that going on. So yeah, I'd absolutely say go out there, catch the Memorial next time that it's rolling through town. I really want to get up to that Waste Management up in Phoenix.
Oh, dude, the Waste Management in the stadium hole, that would be exciting as shit, because you could sit there all fucking day. You can get Ripper Magooed
in the shade,
but it's still warm, fucking sucking down transfusions and just waiting for people to come in on the 17th and see who gets a fucking hole-in-one this weekend. Because it happened, I think it happens damn near every year. One person over the 4 days hits one. So
typically is the case. I think we had a couple last year.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that's fun. I mean, golf's supposed to be fun, right? I go out when I play, I try to have as much fun as I can because I fucking suck at it, right? So I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have some drinks. I'm going to have a transfusion. I'm going to have maybe I'll get a little bottle of Prosecco, have a fucking mimosa. I'm out there to have a good time, right? I'm not a professional. But we had a couple other guys, not professionals. They're professional athletes, but they're not professional golfers. Went out, had themselves a pretty good time. And we had the match this weekend, man. Did you check out the match at all?
I didn't get to watch any of it, but I was passively watching what was going on while I was at work. And so what Mike's bringing up here, the match, this has been going on for a little bit now. Usually it's like 2 professional golfers, like we had Mickelson and Tiger playing with Tom Brady and who was the other one playing? Peyton, I believe.
Yeah, Tom and Peyton.
But basically, it's a friendly scramble that takes place between bigger athlete names. And this go around, it was Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady versus our boy up in Buffalo and Patrick Mahomes. So Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes ended up taking the L on this one. It was very close all the way through. But again, you're dealing with, instead of 2 guys who aren't professional golfers, it's 4 guys who aren't professional golfers, playing a little golf. And sad to say, Aaron Rodgers hits a putt at the end to kind of seal the deal. I fucking hated that.
Yeah. Listen, Aaron's clutch. All right. He always has been. And I know it drives you crazy, but the man is clutch. One of my favorite things about the match is the build up to it, because I love the little shit talking that starts to happen. It's so funny to me. And I actually thought that something that you were going to bring up was the little dig that Tom kind of took at some of the quarterbacks. They were trying to hit like a little chip shot into a net, and it's got receivers' hands up. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to throw it to Mike Evans. I'm going to chip mine into Mike Evans." You know, Pat, who you gonna chip it to? Tyreek left your ass. But you, Aaron. Oh yeah, Devontae left you too.
That is one of the best things about the match, is that you are up close and personal with those guys and getting to hear them conversate with like the announcers, like Chuck and stuff like that, Charles Barkley and everything. He's talking to him. I think Charles Barkley says one of these guys is going to hit me in the head, and when they do, like I'm taking all of TNT with me because I'm going to sue their ass and stuff like that. And you're getting all that good back and forth and everything. I believe it was Josh Allen had brought out a golf ball with Brady from his draft picture, threw him on the golf ball and everything. And then Tom had his ball, which had a Super Bowl trophy on it. Was like, you guys never seen one of these before?
Yeah.
to Mahomes and Josh Allen. He's like, maybe one day. So you get that good, little chipping back and forth and stuff like that, which is always fun to watch.
And I mean, so obviously that's a ton of fun. I really thought that Josh and Pat had a chance to win this, but then you go back, you think about it. I mean, Tom, Aaron, a little older, a little more seasoned, probably been playing golf a little bit longer. And I mean, I don't know what it is about being an old guy. You just got that silky smooth swing, goes right where you want it. I keep telling myself I can't wait to get old so I can be better at golf. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like, I'm not going to get good at golf. I'm still going to be the asshole.
The older we get, the more our bodies are breaking down. So it just makes it a little bit more difficult. But I think one of the great things about the match is that it is kind of humbling, because you are seeing, in this case, 4 elite athletes out there, or at least 3 elite athletes out there who are playing a game, a sport, and they still have their struggles with it here and there. It makes you feel a little bit better about going out there and shanking a shot and stuff like that, and be like, oh well, I mean, Tom Brady's out there shanking shots and stuff like that, and he's the GOAT, and so we're kind of like the same guy, right?
Yeah, I'm basically Tom Brady.
Absolutely. That's what we get from this match. But it's always a great time to watch that. Unfortunately, again, I was at work, so I didn't get to see it, but I was following along and heavily disappointed with the outcome.
I figured you would be. But that's just
for what it's worth, I think I mean, maybe not Mahomes, but Josh Allen, that's my early season, not even into the NFL playoff and Super Bowl champ pick, is that it's probably gonna, for me, be the Bills as of right now. So
I got the Bills winning the Super Bowl, and I have Josh Allen win MVP this year.
Yeah, so maybe he loses the match, but he might win.
If you can win an MVP and win a Super Bowl, I think Josh won't give a flying fuck if he lost the match to 2 old heads.
Absolutely. He'll come out next year with his Super Bowl balls and say, what's up, Tom?
What's up?
Tom will have to pack all of his Super Bowl trophies on one ball.
He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I got to pack he's got 7 now?
I believe so.
Yeah. So a couple sleeves plus 1. Fucking Super Bowls.
Yep. But I guess that kind of allows us to transition into a little bit more of our bread and butter here, which is the NFL.
Before we do that, since we were just talking about golf, we're going to bring it back up one more time. All right. So, guys, if you want to play a little bit of golf with me and producer Amber from the show, you can go ahead and enter a contest. Go on the YouTube, take a screenshot of our show, post it on Twitter, post it in the Facebook group. Insert the hashtag Lounge Birdies, and that will get you entered to win a spot for you and a friend to come join me and producer Amber for Top Golf at First Energy Stadium, home of the Cleveland Browns. All right. Jump
Alrighty.
that back down.
So yes, getting back into the NFL. So since we've been gone, there's been sad news. We've actually had a couple, a current player and a recent player, both pass away. The bigger name out of the two is Marion Barber, former running back, Dallas Cowboys. He was a Golden Gopher for my Minnesota Golden Gophers. And he even played right down the road from where I played high school at Wayzata High School. We play, from where I'm from, Maple Grove, we play Wayzata every year. And Wayzata's typically has been a powerhouse. Everyone's pretty much caught up to them, but they were coached by former NFL players. They, of Minnesota schools, are one of the two pipeline schools for guys making their way into college football and NFL. Them and Cretin-Derham Hall. And Marion Barber was a little before my time. I wasn't in high school yet when he was playing. He just, like I said, just passed 38 years old. It's still undisclosed as to the reason for his passing. But, one that hits a little bit closer home, because even though I'm not a Cowboys fan, I was always a Marion Barber fan. Him and Lawrence Maroney were both playing for the Gophers at the same time, and they were both putting up 1,000-yard seasons together on the field. Maroney ended up going to the NFL playing for the Patriots, and Barber ended up playing for the Cowboys. And I was always a big fan of Marion Barber. I believe he came out a year before Maroney, and always rooted for Marion, because it's always nice to see guys, not only just from the Gophers, but from really close to my hometown, succeeding and making it big. He didn't have the most illustrious career. He was a very solid running back for them for a couple of years and then kind of faded out.
I mean,
it's always sad to see.
He was a fantastic running back. He's one of those guys that I loved. I just loved his style, man. He was a hard-nosed, smack you in the fucking mouth runner. Did not shy away from contact. That run that he had for 1 yard, he ran 67 fucking yards, I think, or some craziness to gain 1 yard because he refused to give up. That's that kind of hard-nosed football that I love, especially as a former running back. And this is a guy that did not start a game at one point for the Cowboys, but made a
2007. 2007, he didn't start a game for the 13-3 Cowboys, but he still put up 975 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns for him as their leading rusher and the backup. That's the type of guy that he was. He's that hard-nosed grinder who's going to be able to get you a lot of those goal line touchdowns, which is why he got the 10 touchdowns. But he wasn't just a goal line guy. Being able to put up nearly that 1,000 yards, that's, like I said, that's what he was doing in college with Lawrence Maroney. They were definitely a running back powerhouse team at that time, being able to put up 2,000-yard rushers.
Yeah, almost 1,000 yards as getting number 2 touches as a running back is insane. A couple years ago, there was the chance that Chubb and Hunt could have done it, and they fell short. Obviously, Barber fell a little bit short too, but he made a Pro Bowl that year. That is recognition from a national spotlight, because the fans still vote on the Pro Bowl, of man, this dude is legit. This dude can play some fucking ball. And his passing is very sad for obviously his family, the Minnesota community, the Cowboys community,
and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah,
he also ended his career with the Chicago Bears. Yep.
And when you hear stories like that at that young, it's very, very tragic. I was reading through the story. Somebody had called to do a wellness check, and when those kinds of things happen, it always makes you worry about a person, about where they were in a mental state, because we've seen too many times that football players take a lot of hits running backs take a lot of hits. So I don't know. There's no good like why did it happen, because regardless of the fact he is still gone. But that is a guy that should be celebrated for all his contributions. Um, Minnesota Cowboys and the Bears and the things that he did in the community.
Yep. And so Marion the Barbarian, which his nickname because he was a barbarian on the field. He was not shy of contact. He retired in 2011, 4,700 yards rushing in his career, 53 touchdowns on just under 1,200 carries. He also had almost 180 catches for 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns receiving. So he was a do-it-all back, not shy of contact. He was kind of that nitty-gritty running back that I think that we really both enjoyed kind of watching. So real sad to see that he has passed away, especially at such a young age of 38.
Yeah.
To go along with that, another semi close to home loss in the NFL for me, or for the NFL in general. Cornerback Jeff Gladney, most recently of the Arizona Cardinals, has passed away. Both him and his girlfriend after a car crash. Jeff Gladney, drafted by the Vikings in the first round, played 1 year with us, and then had some allegations come out against him. All of those charges ended up getting dropped, but it was a long process, him being incarcerated and things like that. The Vikings cut bait on him, ended up getting picked up late in the year by the Cardinals last year and didn't do a whole lot of contribution to that team. But he was apparently driving his white Mercedes SUV, speeding, clipped another vehicle, which careened him into, I believe, a pillar, which killed both him and his girlfriend. So very short career for Jeff Gladney, a tumultuous one to say that. But you never want to see kids have their lives taken away from him. I mean, he was 25 years old.
Yeah. God, it's so young.
Yeah. So probably difficult for some of the Vikings players that played with him. Definitely difficult for the Cardinals players who have, really been outspoken about, how it hurts to have him gone. And you just, whether or not, his off the field stuff, you believe it or not, you just don't wish for
any
someone
loss
of their
of
age
life
to die. Yeah.
No, a loss of life is tragic, no matter what the scenario is. Now, I understand he had some allegations; those charges were dropped. We're talking about a 25-year-old kid, and somebody who had his entire life ahead of him. And this is one of those stories that we kind of need to talk about. We need to cover, but it always is not the most pleasant conversation to have, because it hurts to talk about. Like, you think about these young athletes, and sometimes they will do some reckless things. They'll make some reckless decisions. It's awful. Like, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, I mean, he's leaving behind a 2-year-old son as well.
Yeah,
it's never a good situation,
But all right, are we ready to get off of that? And our condolences, obviously, to the families of those players. We're a small time podcast. You guys will probably never see this, but if you ever do, know that we send our thoughts and prayers out to you guys, because this is, it sucks. So
yeah, absolutely. But in other news, we've had different OTAs and things like that going on for a lot of the teams out here in the league. But in addition to that, we've actually had a relatively large spring of retirements.
That have happened. A lot of guys.
So guy that I know that you love and I love, old Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, man.
Fitzpatrick calls it a career. The great beard from Harvard, correct?
Harvard.
Yep.
Harvard educated.
17 years of
swag out the ass. just a fucking pros pro. Like, he hung around for 17 years in the NFL with 9 teams. And it's not because he was just hanging on. There's a reason he had the nickname Fitzmagic. That man could go out there and win you a game. Like, he had magic at times where he was just unbelievable. I mean, he took the Bills to the playoffs at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
He's the type of quarterback that you generally see as a backup quarterback, but he's one of those guys that you don't feel bad at all when he's starting for your team.
right.
You actually feel like there's some upside here to this guy. And that's why, I mean, Washington brought him in to be a starter.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he had the hip injury. And had he come back from that hip injury and decided to play this year, whether it's with Washington or another team, he absolutely could have been either, a high tier backup or possibly starting for some of these teams out
He
there.
starts in
like
Carolina and he starts in Seattle. No problem.
that's what I was going to say. Carolina and Seattle, he's probably starting in both spots.
Mhm.
But again, major hip injury last year, 17 seasons. It's a great career for him. And I don't
Yeah.
think that just his playing career is done, his professional career isn't over. I don't think we've seen the last of Fitzmagic.
No, I hope not. I think he has a deal probably with. I think I saw something about him potentially having a deal to go and do some announcing or some analytic stuff with somebody.
Mm-hmm. And I
Um,
mean, we even saw him last year in the playoffs. Actually, he was out there in the stands, shirtless in Buffalo, rooting for the Bills, which is pretty cool. You don't see that too often. Current NFL players out there rooting for a team other than their own,
yeah.
But
I mean,
obviously, he's got those close ties with Buffalo and everything.
Yeah, that's where he started his career. That's where he had a lot of his success. I mean, the man, he made a bag in the NFL. You know, no matter what, bouncing around, being a backup, being a spot starter.
Yep.
We've talked about it 100 times on the show. That's fucking a great career in the NFL.
Yep. 7th round pick.
Yeah, out of Harvard. The man is Harvard educated. So he's going to be okay.
Yep. 7th round pick to the Rams, Bengals, Bills, Titans, Texans, Jets, Bucks, Dolphins, and ending his career there with Washington. He's been all over the place. You see the pictures of, groups of guys walking in. Every one of them has a different Fitzmagic jersey on.
Mm-hmm.
Great career. Pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, I wish he would have made a Pro Bowl just so he could be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Now, obviously, he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but I wanted to know that Fitzmagic, if the voters really wanted to just, do it because of the type of guy that he is, because he was a pro's pro. He was a perfect mentor for young quarterbacks. Heineke probably got so much from Fitzmagic. Yeah. I mean, Heineke's one of those guys kind of plays like Fitzmagic. Like, he will force a ball into some bad areas sometimes. Yep. That's what Fitzmagic did. He was letting the nuts swing on every fucking play. And I love that style. I like going for it. I'm always the guy who wants to fucking go for it, and that's the same way that he was. So
yeah, fierce competitor, extremely smart, and you got guys like Chan Gailey, former offensive coordinator for him there with the Jets, saying that he's the best that he's been around in his career as far as leadership. And you saw that from the guys around him. I mean, players of all walks of life rallied around this guy because that's just the type of dude he was.
Yeah, I mean, the man took not Mike Evans, was it Chris Godwin's fucking shirt and his
Antonio
chain?
Bryant, I believe.
I
think he took AB's stuff.
Okay,
maybe not. I'm not positive. I don't remember. He did take a wide receiver's tracksuit, basically, and wore it, letting the chest throw out into a press conference. It was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, the fucking hamburger meat hanging, the chain, everything. Like, he just looked so good. That's an iconic image. Congratulations to Fitzmagic on a great career. And I cannot wait to see what he does next, because he's not going to go away. He's got way too much personality to just kind of go and be done, I think.
Yep, absolutely. In addition to that, we also had the 49ers center Alex Mack retires after 13 years. He's been a very, very solid, at times top 5 center in the league, calling a retirement after 13 years. Which, it's a little interesting because I believe, they're expecting him to play. It's tough when some of these veterans retire at this point in time in the year. You'd
A
hope that
little
they
late.
do it before free agency, before the draft, stuff like that. Hopefully the team kind of thought that it was coming. And when you get a player that's been, playing for 13 years, you can start to expect that. Now, offensive linemen have a little bit of a longer lifespan than some other positions, but still, hopefully they were planning for this inevitability here in the future. You also had Stephen Tuitt from Steelers. He retired. That was a little bit early. I believe he only had played 8 years.
Yeah,
Defensive end
that
for
was
him.
the one that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Mhm.
Like he still had some juice left in him, I thought.
But that's
Now Alex Mack. No, go ahead.
that's today's NFL, though. I mean, you have some players that are willing to call it quits for their health, for their body.
Yeah.
They've already, made their money, and more power to them, really. I mean, they're playing. This is a gladiator sport when gladiators aren't around anymore. So if you're ready to step away and focus on your family, more power to you.
Listen, if you can make a bag in the NFL and step away with your health, that's the best career you can ask for. Like, obviously, everybody wants to go to the Hall of Fame, right? Not everybody's going to go to the Hall of Fame. So get what you can get out of it. Like, make your bag, leave with your health. Like, you've done a great job. Alex Mack, for me, one of my favorite players all time as a Brown. It was kind of crappy the way everything went down with him leaving. He was testing free agency. The Browns stuck that awful fucking transition tag on him and kind of forced him back to Cleveland for a couple of years before he was able to get away. Went down with the Falcons, almost got himself a Super Bowl. I mean, he's been fantastic. He is an absolute stalwart in the middle of that offensive line. Played through injuries. Like, I cannot say enough good things about Alex Mack. So, like, I'm happy for him that he has decided to call it a career. Like I said, he's leaving, I'm pretty sure, relatively healthy with a bag because that year, those couple years on that transition tag, he was getting fucking paid.
Yep, absolutely. And then, really, I think the only other big name that ended up calling it a career, Frank Gore.
Oh, yeah, our boy, Frank Gore.
He's another one of those hard-nosed running backs, Miami Hurricane, who was just a stalwart piece for the 49ers for so many years. And even late into his career, I mean, after the 49ers, he's with the Colts for a while, Dolphins, Bills, Jets. He didn't play last year. And I believe, it was, 17 years? His son is, like, about to be looking at going
he's at
into
Florida
the league.
State, right?
I believe so. I'm not positive, but the younger Gore is about to that was an actual conversation. Could they possibly play in the same team? But at this point in time in his career, he is what he is. He's a very, very old running back, and I'm honestly surprised he lasted this long because 17 years in the NFL is unheard of unless you're a quarterback or a kicker. And with the type of beating that running backs take, dude, sit down, enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your life.
And Frank Gore's not done competing by any means. He went out and had a boxing match and knocked somebody clean the fuck out. Like, Frank Gore is an animal in all things that he does. He was great as a running back. He was always incredibly consistent. Like, you hand the ball to Frank Gore, he's getting you 3 yards. Doesn't matter what the fuck happens in the scenario. He's going to get you 3 yards. He was never a burner. He was just that guy, showed up to work, did his fucking job, and he did it really goddamn well. I think he finishes, second or third on the all-time list for most rushing yards?
Third behind Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton. So Emmitt has 18,355 yards. Walter Payton has 16,726 yards. And Frank Gore has an even 16,000 rushing yards. Both of those guys, Emmitt and Walter, in the Hall of Fame. And Frank,
I think, is going for sure.
Yeah. He's eligible for Hall of Fame in 2026 now after retiring with the 49ers. The 49ers are bringing him back and adding him to their Hall of Fame immediately.
Yeah,
But
of
he's
course.
retiring with those 49ers. And again, Frank Gore, there were 5 running backs taken ahead of him in the 2005 draft. And those 5 running backs combined for 16,123 yards. So he was 123 yards short of the combined numbers of the 5 guys taken before him. A phenomenal career from Frank Gore.
Yeah,
He's a little
absolutely.
bowling ball, man.
Oh yeah, he was a monster. Now I saw a question posed on Twitter, and I'm going to ask it to you. Frank Gore is a blank running back of all time. Is a top blank running back of all time.
I don't know. I don't know if I would put him in top 10.
So I don't have him in the top 10.
That's the thing, is he did play for 17 years. That's
Mhm.
part of why he has so many yards.
Right.
That's not to knock his like prime time career in his first, we'll say,
Well,
10
if you
years.
look at Emmitt Smith, the reason he has the record is because he held on for so fucking long.
That's very true, and it's why, you know, guys like Adrian Peterson are continuing to fight for Emmitt Smith's record and stuff like that, because you have to play 15 plus years in the NFL to get that sort of yardage. I mean, 1,000-yard seasons for running backs is kind of a benchmark, and a running back's career, really good running backs, is somewhere in
10.
the 5 to 8 year range, maybe 10 years, and then you
10
start getting into
max.
some of these guys that are like Emmett or Frank, who are playing silly amounts of time in order to get to that yardage, and they ain't doing 1,000-yard seasons that late in their career.
No.
I mean, Frank is a generational running back for sure. I don't know that I would put him top 10 or top 15. I'd really have to sit there and look at a list of the all-time great running backs to really place him. That's a tough one. I mean,
I had him somewhere around 15.
It feels almost disrespectful to be like, well, he's not a top 10 guy.
And even
But
though
I
he's got
mean,
the third most rushing yards.
yeah. He's definitely up there in that probably top 15 range, 15, 20 range,
Yeah,
probably.
15 20 is where I got him somewhere. I think 15 is his high mark, 20s is low. I can't put him in the top 10. But I mean, I don't care. Like, when you're talking about the entirety of the NFL, the entire time the NFL has been around, if you are a top 50 player at your position in the NFL, you have had a fucking fantastic career. And I got Frank Gore no less than top 20, as high as top 15. To me, that is a Hall of Fame career. And I don't know if he'll get in first ballot, but I think he will absolutely go in. You cannot keep one of the top 10 rushers of all time out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he were to make it first ballot. It really depends on who else is on that ballot. But I think it's a no-brainer to see him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
All right. So other than that sort of stuff with football, I think you probably wanted to talk about your quarterback situation up there in Cleveland.
Yeah. So we're going to continue to talk about football, but it's not really football related. So the NFL has concluded its investigation into Deshaun Watson, and it doesn't look good. Like, it looks really, 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 really bad. So before the last couple of weeks, he was facing 22 allegations of sexual assault on 22 massage therapists. So looked like there's a pattern there. There are 2 more cases that are supposed to come out
I
in the next
thought we
couple
jumped
days.
up to 23 now.
23 with a 24th in the works. 23 is active. 24 is apparently coming. So it's a really bad situation, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be suspended. Now, how long he will be suspended for is anybody's guess when you're talking about this number of allegations. And to make matters worse, his attorney is an absolute schmuck.
But
So
are you saying that a happy ending is a crime? Because Rusty Harden says nah.
listen, if it is agreed upon before, a happy ending is not a crime, depending on the state that you're in, because that you're talking about prostitution now. And I'm pretty sure there's only one fucking state where that's legal. And so even if you think that, you have got to have enough brains, enough wherewithal to understand that those words never come out of your fucking mouth. Ever. Like,
It
I'm
is
not
a
an
weird
attorney.
state. It is a weird statement for Rusty Harden to say. Rusty Harden, for what it's worth, is a very prolific lawyer. He's defended a lot of professional athletes, including Adrian Peterson with the whole switch situation and that whole thing. It is an interesting thing for him to come out and say publicly. If this is his argument in the court setting, that's one thing. But for him to come out and make kind of a public statement about that, it just isn't a good look. It's also, I believe, come out now that Deshaun was offering $100,000 to each of the plaintiffs in order to drop the charges.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's interesting.
This is a terrible, terrible look. The offering to settle, I understand, because he doesn't want this to go to trial. Nobody in his camp wants us to go to trial because some things are going to come out that are probably going to be worse than the things that we've already heard. That's what happens in these depositions. And like, if you take a fucking recent case example of the Amber Heard situation, things come out that you don't want to ever fucking talk about. Okay. And they want to avoid that. So I get why they try to settle. But 2 new allegations being added onto the 22 that are already ongoing. The NFL being done with their investigation and bringing in sexual assault. I guess, I don't know if professionals is the right word, or prosecutors to actually do these investigations means the NFL is taking this very fucking seriously. There is going to be a suspension. And in my opinion, it's probably going to be a massive suspension.
That's, I believe, the most recent rumors have been the entire season.
Yeah. And I could absolutely see that happening. If we go back and take a look at a case similar to this with Robert Kraft, this is an owner who went down to a little rub and tug in Florida.
Well, in West Palm Beach.
Mm-hmm. And he got hit with a fine. They lost draft picks. And he is not a player. He is an owner. So he kind of rules his roost. And he's one of the most powerful owners in the NFL. And he got hit with a massive penalty. A player is not going to get any fucking leniency. I think 1 year is kind of what I'm seeing here. And a 1-year suspension for Deshaun Watson kind of lines up very nicely with what the Browns did in his contract. I have seen Browns Twitter say, no, they do this with every contract. That's not true. It's just not fucking true. And I will come at that comment in just a second. I will address both of those comments in just a second, guys. It's just, I think a year is what we're looking at. And that year lines up with the very low money, which is one of the things that probably led Deshaun to choose the Browns. You're not going to get any debates from me that Deshaun Watson is a better player than Baker Mayfield. He is. Deshaun Watson, when he is performing at his peak, is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think any reasonable person can make an argument otherwise. But that does not excuse what the Browns did in the front office to probably lure him to be there. And it doesn't. This is just such a shit situation. Like, I've talked about it before. I have 2 young girls. I am a massive Browns fan. Like, it hurts to be like, yeah, I want the Browns to fucking win. I want Deshaun to bring me a Super Bowl. But if any of these allegations are true, and I don't think 24 women are lying, the man needs to go to jail, which puts the Browns in a terrible, terrible situation because we gave up entirely too many fucking assets to get him. Talked about this when it happened. I was furious that we gave up as much as we did. And on top of that, we gave him more guaranteed money than has ever happened in the NFL. He has almost as much guaranteed money in his contract as was given out to half the players that signed in the NFL this year. That's how much guaranteed money he got. This doesn't make any fucking sense. We have a Ivy League educated front office that made a very miscalculated decision on what they did.
Questionable, at least. And just to be clear here, I do have Rusty Harden's comments pulled up. He stated this on a radio show, so I'm just going to pull the direct quote. I don't know how many men out there now that have had a massage that perhaps occasionally there was a happy ending. Maybe there's nobody in your listening audience that has ever had that happen to. I do want to point out, if it has happened, it is not a crime, okay? Unless you are paying somebody extra or so to give you some type of sexual activity, it is not a crime. Doing something or saying something or being a way that makes you uncomfortable is not a crime. All right. And then getting a little bit further into it. If you, this is not quote now, but this is more speculation as to how the NFL will look at this. Is
hang on. Before you do that, I'm going to pop this up because I feel like it is appropriate for what we're talking about.
Yeah, that I'm reading quotes here and whatnot, but if he arranged massages hoping for a quote happy ending, and in so doing connected himself in a way that made multiple massage therapists uncomfortable, that potentially amounts to quote conduct that poses a genuine danger to the safety and well-being of another person, end quote, and or quote conduct that undermines or puts at risk the integrity of the NFL, NFL clubs, or NFL personnel, end quote, which is, I think, where they will really get him is that last quote. The first one, where it's a genuine danger, safety, or well-being to another person, that's tougher because it doesn't sound like he was attempting anything like along the lines of rape, because if that was the case, these wouldn't be civil charges. These wouldn't be just sexual misconduct charges. It would be sexual assault charges. Now, conduct that undermines or puts at risk the NFL clubs or NFL personnel, it already has.
Ding. Hit that one.
It's got the Browns. It's got the Texans. It's got him as a player. And it's got the Shield all involved.
Directly in the fucking crosshairs.
And that's where they're going to get him, is that this conduct has become public and it's going to result in a suspension. Yeah, it's just how long. 100%. And again, we talked about this, a couple episodes ago, after you see what happened in baseball with
Trevor Bauer.
The suspension that they gave him,
2 years for
Trevor Bauer. The NFL doesn't do multiple year suspensions unless it is you are indefinitely suspended. So I feel like, to kind of save face to a point, they probably will be looking at a year at this point.
They're going to have to look at a year. I think that is the minimum that they can come out with to put their foot down to say that this kind of conduct is detrimental to the league. It is completely unacceptable, and this is not how you will represent the Shield. I think they have to come down with a year at this point. That's the most I think that they can give, is a year. But that, I mean, that is, it's precedent setting, and the NFL is not above that. They did this with Ray Rice. When they suspended Ray Rice, they effectively ended his career.
Yep.
There's no other way to cut it than they ended Ray Rice's career. Nobody would touch him. He was a pariah. That will not happen with Deshaun. They will probably give him a year suspension. He will fight it, obviously, in court, and he may get it reduced. I don't know if it will be reduced. But Deshaun Watson will be back in the league because the Cleveland Brown front office really fucked this up. His money is guaranteed. Now, I don't know if there is a clause in that contract that can get them out of this with some, I don't know the legalese that they wrote in there to get them out of the guaranteed money. But I would imagine that since the Browns are already out and Deshaun flipped and came back to us, there's probably not a clause in there that says, well, if this all comes out to be true and you're fucking screwed and you're suspended, where we can dump you for no money. He wouldn't have taken that because I'm sure Deshaun understands the gravity of what he is facing.
I'm
And
sure
if he didn't before,
his agents are doing that to protect him, I'm sure.
yeah. And if he didn't before, he absolutely does now. Or he should. And if he doesn't know now, he's a fucking moron. It's going to be bad. It's, in my opinion, going to be at least a year. And we can only kind of see where that goes. Now, I'm going to pop these comments back up here, okay? I'm not sure who Facebook user is. Guys, if you are new to the channel, because we've actually had quite a few people on Facebook who are new to the group, you're going to have to give some permissions to StreamYard to show your name so we can pop that up on the screen. Facebook user, I appreciate your question. That's why they have not traded Baker yet. Kimmel, our guy, love you, appreciate you hopping in here. Do you think Baker would play a whole season if Deshaun is suspended? And then one more, only because he is a quarterback, that's why. Okay, so I'm going to address kind of all of these in one go. All right, so we'll start with this one. The reason they haven't traded Baker yet is because nobody will take Baker's contract. Has nothing to do with the Deshaun Watson situation. Okay. Teams do not want to take on Baker's $18.9 million guaranteed salary if they're not sure that Baker is going to start for them. There's only two teams, in my opinion, that he can go to where he is the for sure starter right now. That is Seattle and that is Carolina. No, I'll get to that. Yeah, I cannot see your name. So
correct.
Carolina, he would go in, he would compete, and he would beat out Sam Darnold. I have no doubts about that. Okay. Seattle did not draft a guy. They have Drew Lock right now scheduled to be their starter. Baker is a much better player than Drew Lock, but those teams have not budged on wanting to bring Baker in unless the Browns eat a massive part of that salary. We're talking $14 to $15 million the Browns are going to have to eat. The Browns have structured contracts in a way, weird, that they could eat that $14 to $15 million. Okay. That is entirely possible for them. They have a ton of cap space right now. They've made a lot of moves, but have done things to structure the cap. So they have, I think, like $22 million still. They can eat Baker's contract, no problem. Okay. So that's not why we haven't traded Baker. We can't get anybody to take Baker unless we pay almost all of his salary. Okay. Now, Kimmel, do I think Baker will play a whole season if Deshaun is suspended? Not for the Browns. Baker Mayfield will never play for the Browns again. That ship has sailed. It sailed months ago. As soon as Baker put out his statements on Twitter saying, it's been a good ride, all this stuff, he feels disrespected, all of that stuff, it kind of made him look like a little bit of a punk, in my opinion. Okay, I love Baker. My youngest daughter, her middle name is Baker. I love Baker, but that was not a good look as a starting quarterback, a guy you want to be your franchise quarterback, especially at $18.9 million. Okay. So Baker's out on the Browns. And the Browns are out on Baker. They do not want him back. There have been comments inside that locker room that suggest that very fact. The moves that the Browns have made show that they do not want Baker back. At one point, we had 4 guys on the roster playing quarterback who are not named Baker Mayfield. Now, we just did release one after the rookie camp. Okay. So now we still have 3 guys other than Baker Mayfield on the roster. That is what, it's over. The ride is over, guys. If you are a Baker fan, like I am, we just have to accept the fact that it's over. He did some really, really good things for the Browns. He did some really bad things for the Browns. Okay. He's not coming back. It's never going to happen. All right. And the fact that Deshaun got anything because he's a quarterback, that I think that to be incredibly false as well. The Browns could
I
have
think
made the
this.
decision.
I think this comment only because he's a quarterback. I think this is geared more towards Deshaun Watson will still play in the NFL because he's a quarterback. Ray Rice
No,
is more expendable as a running back, but with quarterbacks in the NFL being the moneymakers,
no.
if he's suspended for a year versus his lifetime, I believe that's where this fits into play more.
So I'm going to ask a question that's going to be very polarizing, and there's probably going to be some people who get pissed off about this. Okay. What's worse? 23 guaranteed sexual misconduct allegations or protesting the United States flag, the national anthem? Which one's worse? I promise you it's not because he's a quarterback. That's not why he's going to stay in the NFL. Has nothing to do with that. We've seen quarterbacks get forced out of the league. Now, Deshaun is a much better player than Colin Kaepernick was, but that he's going to be back because there's the guaranteed money. Okay. That's it. The Browns did that on purpose. It was very much on purpose. Okay. So I don't have a ton else to say on this subject that I haven't already beat to fucking death. We do got some more comments coming in. No, I couldn't see your name. We got the Browns, and then I think this is probably the guy who we could not see, Nate Bow. What's up, big dog? Have not talked to this guy in a long time. We were stationed together in Alaska. Y'all better get JG. Not
Jason Garrett.
Josh Gordon, possibly Josh Gordon, or here it is, Jimmy G. We got another comment down there. Colin sucks. Sexual assault is way worse. Better go get Jimmy G.
If y'all got Jimmy Garoppolo, that'd be just the wildest like quarterback carousel situation going on that I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, and fucking just go ahead and notch another name on that fucking jersey. We're not getting Jimmy G. We made our bed with Deshaun Watson, and now we got to sleep in the motherfucker. Like that's the way it is.
Maybe to kind of move away from this a little bit, but bring up someone that has just been talked about, Colin Kaepernick. He did have a workout with the Raiders, and there are rumors that they have a deal set in place, a 2-year, $36 million deal possibly for him that just hasn't been announced yet.
That's a lot of money.
Like it's more like 10 to 12 in like the first year, with most of that money being guaranteed
back end
or guaranteed for that first year, and then the money, obviously is heavily back end loaded,
which
so
essentially makes it a 1-year deal. That's the way these teams structure these deals.
And we actually talked about this at work a little bit. I think it's a good fit for him because he isn't forced into a starting role. He's filling the Marcus Mariota role that was being used by those Raiders. Although they do have a new coaching staff and everything there, so it's not saying that they're going to schematically be the same, but he affords a lot of opportunity for you there as a backup quarterback that can be a pinch starter and be out there for more gadget plays or specified plays that a Mariota would have been good for. Someone that's a little bit more mobile, someone that can be a little bit more dynamic with the ball than Derek Carr as far as like running around with it. And I'm the thing that I brought up was, hey, you have Derek Carr and Kaepernick out there. You really don't know what's going to be happening because they can do a quick pitch to Kaepernick and he could take off with the ball or he could huck it down the field 50 yards type situation. So I don't think it's a bad situation at all for the Raiders to go out and get this guy. If anything, I mean, the Seahawks are the losers in this because they
I agree.
If that's the sort of money that
I think Cap could have started for the Seahawks.
Oh, absolutely. And that if that's the sort of money that's being offered up for him, you might as well take a shot.
Yeah, I mean, good for Colin. Good call in the transition. We got to get away from the Sean stuff because I'm going to get fucking heated. But yeah, good for Colin. If he gets the opportunity, I hope he makes the most of it. It's a nice little easy scenario for him to roll in, be a backup. He'll get his chances just like Mariota did. Now, obviously, there's a coaching change there. It would be interesting to see, if McDaniels can do some things to kind of, get some plays in for him. But that's probably one of the better situations to go to because he knows that Derek Carr's the starter.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
All right. I
You got anything else,
think
man?
I don't think so, man. I think we took care of business. We got through quite a few topics. Got, I don't think we missed anything either. And I didn't get too angry. So I was worried that, especially saving that till the end, that it was just going to go fucking 0 to 100.
It's a more of a tumultuous offseason for the Browns than I think you would have expected or wanted.
So I was expecting a little drama, especially with Baker. This shit was. When I heard that we were out on Deshaun, I was actually kind of happy. I'd have been cool bringing Baker back for a year. I'd have been cool with rolling out a fucking high caliber backup and then wait for next year and attack the draft.
Could you have kept Fitzmagic from retiring if you could have gotten him?
Listen, if Fitzmagic was on the board and that was an option, I'd have taken him in a fucking heartbeat. Listen, I have a ton of love for Bills fans. Bills fans typically have a ton of love for the Browns fans as well. So I think everybody would have been very cool and be like, oh man, we can still kind of root for Fitzmagic. Those two groups of fans kind of have a little bit of a special relationship. So
I think you just are gonna draw in. You're gonna have the opposite effect of your current quarterback situation if you bring a Fitzmagic in. You're gonna have a lot of outside people being like, "All right, let's watch the Browns." I like this guy.
Let's watch the Browns. Now instead of I'm absolutely not watching the fucking Browns, turn this off.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with all of our primetime games when Deshaun's not playing. Because this year they can start to flex Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
So we might get flexed out of the game.
That is definitely on the table as a possibility.
Yeah. If you're missing your starting quarterback, potentially one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, because he was a shithead. Yeah, they're probably not. I mean, they're probably not putting you on Monday night, especially if they have the option to flex you out now.
Yeah. So. All right, man. Well,
all right, brother.
If you don't got anything else, it was good seeing you again. We took last week off.
Yeah.
It was a nice little break, little hiatus. Good to get back at it, though. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in today. We've seen those numbers going up and down, left and right, and all over the place here. I guess we can throw up this one last comment here real quick.
Yeah.
Who's going to win Rookie of the Year on both sides?
Oh, that's a little early to ask this question, but all right. So I'm gonna go with something a little I don't know if it's outrageous, a little outlandish, but it is based on the team he plays for. I'm going to go with Aiden Hutchinson winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think he is going to play with an absolute fire under his ass, being the projected number 1 for so long, and then kind of getting bumped on that fucking day before. He's going back to Michigan. He's a Michigan guy. I think he's going to play out of his fucking mind. So I'm going to go with Aiden. Give me a second on the offensive rookie. What do you got?
So I'm looking through here. It's pretty easy to just grab first round guys. And with us only just beginning OTAs and really not seeing anything on the field, it's kind of tough. I mean, I want to say Jameson Williams for the offensive. I don't like the quarterback situation there, but when you saw what St. Brown was able to do there, and Jameson Williams is a superior player for all intents and purposes. If he's able to come back healthy, we could see a very prolific year from him. Not as good as a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase type of rookie season for a wide receiver, but none of the other wide receivers really pop out at me as being like, oh, this guy's going to compete with that on their teams. You've got Drake London.
I have my guy
with the Jets, things like that. And then defensively, I think I'm just going to go with Kyle Hamilton because I think he's the most game ready. He fits with that Ravens system. And yeah, I think he's going to be able to go out there day one and look like potentially an all pro or at least, second team level guy in his first year. I think that he can do that in a defensive backfield that absolutely needs help. And he just fits that mold with the Ravens. And I think he's one of those guys. That's one of the things that has been said about him is that he's almost a plug and play type of player. You're able to just fit him in. He doesn't need a couple years of seasoning, that he'll be able to just kind of contribute right away.
Okay. So I've made a decision on my rookie offensive player. As you were kind of going through your stuff, like we had a lot of offensive line. We had one quarterback go in the first round. So it's probably going to be
Cole Strange.
it's probably going to be a wide receiver again. Okay. And I mean, I'll give it with a caveat. If Kenny Pickett starts the majority of the year, I think Kenny Pickett will win it because he's a quarterback. But I think the receiver that is going to one of the best situations, a guy that I loved throughout the entire draft process, Sky Moore. Sky Moore going and taking over that Tyreek Hill kind of a role. If he can get a target share 80% of what Tyreek was getting, I think we could have another rookie receiver go over 1,000 yards. And that is kind of like just the most ridiculous number for a rookie receiver. They don't ever it's very rare that happens. So I think Sky Moore, I'm going to go with Sky Moore.
That's a pretty good pick just based on volume alone.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be getting a lot of targets. And then who do we got in the Super Bowl? I mean, Bills and Vikings.
So I'm not going to back up the Vikings take. I do have the Bills coming out of the AFC, and I am going to go with the Buccaneers out of the NFC because Tom's back. That's literally the only reason why. Tom didn't come back to fuck around in the playoffs. He came back to go to the Super Bowl, but I think Josh Allen will win an MVP and win a Super Bowl this year. Josh Allen is going to get the better of Tom Brady at least once before Tom is done. And especially now he's got the little extra motivation from the match. Ask him if he ever seen one of these fucking Lombardi trophies.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. Well, I think with that,
yeah, I think we
can wrap it up.
Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here, man. I got to take these kids over to the pool. They've been dying. I picked the girls up from daycare yesterday. They're like, "Can we go to the pool? Can we go to the pool?" No, we're not going to the pool. I am not responsible enough to watch the both of you. So we're going to all go as a family. Producer Amber is going to make sure that they don't drown. I'm going to see if I can sneak some of these fucking White Claws in and have a good time. And I can't tone any of this, so I'm going to tan it instead.
Tanning takes 10 pounds off, I hear.
Yeah. If you can't tone it, tan it. So that's kind of my goal for the day. Go out, have some drinks, get a little suntan. Since well, I guess half of the family is sunburnt to fuck. Producer Amber and Graydon are both white as goddamn snow, and they did not put on sunscreen last time, so they are burnt to shit. The girls have the nice olive skin tone like I got, so they are not burnt. So we're gonna go do that and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
All righty. Well, you have a good one, man. Hopefully I don't look too bad in the golf tournament tomorrow because I'm probably going to be maybe even still fucked up tomorrow when I'm going to play, getting there at 6 a.m. So
hey, just hit up a transfusion, a little fucking hair of the dog, and you'll be all right. Just go ahead, hit some fucking bombs.
Give me a breakfast burrito out there.
Yeah, breakfast burrito, no breakfast balls.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, guys, this is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That's Evo. We thank you guys so much for all your contributions to the show. We had a shit ton of comments today. Once again, before we get out of here, you can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. We have the YouTube page where you can view all of these shows as well. We're still doing that giveaway. hashtag Lounge Birdies with a screenshot from the YouTube posted to any one of the socials will get you entered. Thank you guys very much. We love you. See you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just got a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional.